Well, esta es la lección 1E. La lección, the lesson, la lección 1E. La lección se llama, the lesson is called información. Información means information. In this case, we want to refer to personal information. Información personal.
Okay.
Información personal. So, información personal. Información personal means personal information. Información personal. Tenemos el nombre.
Personal.
El nombre.
El nombre.
Do you remember what el nombre means?
Name. The name.
This
Or
word,
name.
the name, exactly. The name. This word we learned it in the first lesson. No, in the second lesson, I think. Yeah.
Second lesson.
So el nombre. Yeah. El nombre. So we have two new words to add to this. We have el primer nombre. El primer nombre. El primer nombre means like the first name, like literally the first name. It is common here in my country and all Latin America and even in Spain to have more than one name. It is very common to do that. I know that in some countries usually they have only one name, but in our countries, for example, my name is Franklin Xavier. I have two names.
Okay.
Usually it is, for example, in America, in United States, sometimes they use it to refer maybe to a family or something like that. But in my country, actually, it is like arbitrary. It can be any name. So
Okay.
it doesn't mean exactly a thing. So we have el nombre.
El nombre.
El primer nombre.
El primer nombre.
This is like the first name. And we have like el segundo nombre.
El segundo nombre.
Segundo. El segundo nombre. Segundo. So, as el segundo nombre means like the second name, but it is like the middle name. Actually, there are people, not as common as two names, but there are people who has three names, even four names, or even more. But it's not very common. It is very common to see people with two names, but not with three names. But actually, I know a friend who has three names, so it is sometimes you can see them. So we have ejemplo. Ejemplo. We have, like I said, my name, which is Franklin Xavier. We have Alberto, which is another name, just a simple name. And Juan. Juan, it is a very common name. Juan. So, el nombre. El primer nombre. el segundo nombre. So we have información personal. El apellido. We already know this. But well, we already know the word apellido, el apellido. If you remember, I think in the second lesson we learned it. So el apellido means the last name, the family name. El apellido. El apellido. We have, like I said before, the same as in the name. There are people who have, well, most of the people in my country or in Latin America, they have two last names. It is very common to have that. Generally, these two last names are, the first one is from your father and the second one is from your mother. So this is very common in my country and also in Latin America. For example, ejemplo. For example, my last names are González Vargas. Well, this is my father's last name and my mother's last name. This is very common, like I said. And we have another examples of last names. Apellido, ejemplo. Tenemos otros ejemplos de apellidos. We have another other examples of last names. Like, Tesla, for example, is very known. Tesla. And Perez, which is a Latin American last name. Well, Lopez is very common also. So, well, we have información personal. La dirección. La dirección. La dirección means the address. The address. As in English, la dirección can mean like the direction, but in English it's like the way you're pointing, but in Spanish it can mean also the address where you live and where something is located. So in this case, la dirección means the address because it's your personal information also. So la dirección means the address. The address. As in other languages, or even in better said, for example, in the United States, they have certain standard for addresses, but at least in my country, we don't. It is very uncommon to know the street names and also the street numbers and these things. Even it is very uncommon to see the house number in outside your home. It is very uncommon. For example, in my house, we have the house number, but it's very rare to see that. So we usually don't say that. We usually take another reference point. For example, in this case, we have ejemplo here. Ejemplo. For example, Barrio Brasil. We usually say where is a reference point. For example, this case is Barrio Brasil, which means barrio means like I forgot this word, like the hood, like the street, like the neighborhood. So Barrio means like neighborhood. So Barrio Brazil is like Brazil in Spanish. So there are neighborhoods that are called like this in, well, at least my country, like Barrio Brasil. So you take a reference point, and after that you say where. For example, del hospital. Del hospital means from the hospital. From the hospital, like taking the hospital as a reference point, you say del hospital. After that, you say dos cuadras al sur, for example. And this means cuadras means blocks, the blocks. In this case, you say 2 blocks south. Al sur means to the south, the south. So in this case, Barrio Brasil del Hospital, 2 cuadras al sur, for example. This is an example. I don't know if it even exists, but it is an example. It is very common to say the addresses here in my country. So it is very important to get familiar with this. We have la calle. La calle. So as I said, well, la calle means the street in English, the street. It can also mean the road. It can mean like everything, like in the street, on the road. This is common. So actually, like I said before, we don't usually say the street name here in my country because it is not common. We don't even know sometimes how the streets are called. For example, in the capital, in Managua, in my country, the streets, I don't know if they even have names, but for example, in another place like Granada, another city, the streets has names, but I don't know if they use it. It's very uncommon to say that. So there are other ways to locate a place, but we have la calle. Is good to know this word. Of course, it's very common to use it. La calle. We have an example like calle Granada. Calle Granada. This is a random name. Calle Granada. Granada, is a name. And calle means street. We also have famous streets like Abbey Road, from London, and Wall Street, and Grove Street. Maybe if you have played Grand Theft Auto, maybe you know this street. Well, we have El País. El País. Well, this means like the country. A country. Well, we have El País. El País. El País, like I said, means the country. El país, ejemplo, Nicaragua, China, Rusia, Italia, Francia. La ciudad. La ciudad. La ciudad means the city. So we have ejemplo. París, Managua, Madrid, Londres, which means London, and we have Roma in Italia, Roma, Italia. We have La casa. We saw this word in the last lecture, if you remember. La casa. We're going to review everything afterwards, so don't worry.
Okay.
La casa.
La casa.
If you remember this word because we
La
had
casa.
the lesson
Yes. House.
before. Exactly. La casa.
The house.
We have
La
el
casa.
número.
El número.
El número.
El
El
número.
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 So número means number.
Number.
For example, so el número 1, 2, 3.
1, 2,
1,
3.
2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
If you remember, el número de casa.
El número de casa.
El número de casa. The number of the house.
Exactly. Perfect. El número de casa.
El número de casa.
So we have some like practice here. But before that, we're going to review everything so everyone can be in the same part. So, hello, welcome. So, let's review again. Lección 1, E. Remember?
Yeah.
This lesson is called, la lección se llama información.
Información.
So we have información personal.
Información personal.
Información personal.
Perfecto. Información personal. As you can guess, información personal means personal information. Exactly.
Información personal.
El nombre. You remember this word from the second lesson?
Sí. El nombre.
El nombre.
The name.
The name, exactly. So we have new words here. El primer nombre.
El primer nombre, which means the first name, right?
Exactly, the first name. And we have el segundo nombre, which is
El
second
segundo
name or
nombre.
the middle name.
El
El
segundo
segundo
nombre.
nombre.
Exactly. As I was explaining, I want to explain something here. So maybe in some country, in most countries, I don't know, it is very common to have one name and one last name. But in Latin America, I don't know if in Spain, but it's very common to have two names and two last names.
I think in Indonesia it's almost the same.
That's good. Yeah. Well, for example, in United States, they use it maybe to specify something or maybe something like that. But in Latin American, we use it like it doesn't matter. We can have two random names. We usually do that. You know, it's like cultural. Maybe I don't know. It's common to use it to do it. In my case, I have also two names: Franklin Xavier. Franklin Xavier. So it's very common to do it. Even you can find people that have more than two names. For example, I have a friend who has three names. So It's not very common, but you can see it. So, ejemplo, well, you know, ejemplos of names like Alberto, Juan, and you remember, ¿cuál es tu nombre? ¿Cuál es tu nombre?
What's your name?
What's your name?
¿Cuál es tu nombre?
¿Cuál es tu
What's
nombre?
your
Mi
name?
nombre es Franklin Xavier.
Mi nombre es Radit.
Perfecto. We have
Oh,
el
apellido, the
apellido.
surname.
Exactly, like
El apellido.
El
el
apellido,
apellido.
the surname.
Exactly. You remember this from the lesson?
Oh, yeah.
So what I want to explain here is that, like I said before, in our countries, it's very common to have two last names, which are from your father and from your mother. I explain this because in some countries it is not common to do that. So in my country or in our country in Latin America, we say we have two last names. For example, Gonzalez, Vargas. These are my last names.
Vargas.
For my dad and for my mom. So we have also examples like Tesla, Perez, Lopez.
Lopez.
So let's go. Tenemos la dirección.
La
La
dirección.
dirección.
La dirección.
This means, in this case, it means the address. It's the address. So what I want to explain here is like in my country, and I don't know, maybe in many Latin American countries, we don't use like the street name because most of the time they don't have names here, or maybe we don't know them. So it is not common to say the street name or the house number, because even if we have house numbers here, we don't use them. For example, most of the houses here in my country, they don't have house number. I mean, like outside the house. For example, in my case, we have house number, but it is not very common to have it. So most of the time, we use reference points to go to a place.
Okay.
For example, we have ejemplo. We have Barrio Brasil, for example. Barrio means neighborhood, the neighborhood. So,
Barrio.
like barrio.
Barrio
So,
Brasil del Hospital, 2 cuadras al sur.
perfecto. Barrio Brasil. So, Barrio Brasil means the neighborhood. Brasil, you know, means Brazil in Spanish. It's the name. So after that, we say, for example, del hospital, from the hospital, like taking reference, del hospital.
Del hospital.
2 cuadras. 2 cuadras.
2 cuadras.
2 cuadras.
Cuadras means blocks.
Oh, yeah.
2 blocks.
Blocks.
2 cuadras.
We don't have such thing in the country, so yeah, I don't know about blocks and something.
Exactly. 2 cuadras al sur.
Al sur.
Al sur.
Oh, to
Al
the
sur
south.
means south, exactly, the south.
Yeah.
So
Oeste.
this is like the most used way to give addresses here. So very common. La calle.
La calle. Oh, the street.
La calle.
La calle.
La calle, the street.
Yeah.
It can mean also the road, everything outside. It can even mean outside. Sometimes we use it like that, like la calle, is like the outside word. So, but in this case, this is like the street specifically. So we have ejemplos: la calle,
La
la
calle.
calle, la calle Granada, for example.
La calle.
Granada is
Granada.
name.
Yeah. Grenada Road.
Exactly like
Yeah.
Grenada. Actually, Granada in Spanish it means grenade, like the bomb. Granada.
Yeah.
Grenade.
Granada.
It can also means like the pomegranate, like the fruit. So Granada
Yeah.
and the same.
Yeah.
So we have,
So, like-
after that we have ejemplos. Abbey Road, you know this street, I think, from London.
Wall Street.
Wall Street and Grove Street. If you have played Grand Theft Auto, you know this street from the game.
Yeah.
And so it's famous streets, you know. El País.
El País.
País.
El País means the country.
Country.
Yeah. Country. Yeah.
The country, well, in this case.
El País, the
El País.
country.
You know this word from one lesson? Los países, el país.
Países, countries, país, country.
Exactly. So, ejemplo, Nicaragua, China, Rusia,
Italia,
Nicaragua.
Francia,
Italia, Nicaragua. Nicaragua is my country, probably,
Nicaragua.
where I was born also. So we have also La India, if you remember.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
La India, remember?
Oh, la India. Yes, India.
La India.
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
We have
Indonesia.
Dinamarca.
Indonesia.
Dinamarca.
Bangladesh.
Nicaragua, Honduras.
Bangladesh.
What else? What else we learned before? I don't remember.
Estados Unidos.
Alemania.
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 Japan is for Japanese.
Japón.
Yeah, learn that.
Exactly.
Yeah, Japan.
Japón. Perfecto.
Malasia, Venezuela,
Malasia.
Colombia,
Excelente.
Puerto Rico,
Puerto Rico.
República Dominicana,
Exactly. So we have la ciudad.
the
La
city.
ciudad means the city.
La ciudad.
So we have famous cities here. Paris. You know Paris.
Paris, Managua, Madrid,
Madrid. Londres. Londres means London.
London,
Roma.
Rome.
So Managua is, the
Managua
capital
is
of my
Nicaragua.
country.
Roma.
Sí.
Managua.
Managua es la capital de Nicaragua.
Managua es capital de Nicaragua.
Managua es la capital de Nicaragua.
Managua es la capital de Nicaragua.
Perfecto.
Managua es la capital de Nicaragua.
París es la capital de Francia.
París es la
París
capital de
es
Francia.
la
París
capital
es la capital
de
de
Francia.
Perfecto.
Yeah.
¿Cuál es la capital? Which is the capital? ¿Cuál es la capital de Italia?
Roma.
Roma.
Roma es la capital de
Roma
Italia.
es la
Roma es la
capital
capital de
de
Italia.
Italia.
Perfecto. Excelente. You remember this word from the last lesson?
Yeah, the house.
La casa.
The
Casa.
La casa. Exactly.
Home.
Casa.
La
la
casa.
casa.
We have el número.
El número.
El número.
Ejemplo, 1, 2, 3.
El número.
Ejemplo, 1, 2,
Ejemplo 1, 2, 3.
ejemplo,
Ejemplo. El número de casa.
el número de casa.
El número de casa.
El número de casa.
El número de
Ejemplo, we have,
Ejemplo.
you can read it however you want, but we can say 1303, which is like 1303, like 1303.
1303.
How to say it once again? Treces.
1303. 13,
13,
13.
1303.
1303.
1303.
1303.
1303.
exactly. Sorry, I wrote this number.
1303.
3. So
1303.
1303.
Mm.
So you can read it.
1303.
You can say 1303.
1303.
303.
1303. 5214.
5214.
5214.
5214.
52,
52,
5214.
Exactly. You can say that. 5214.
Oh, yeah, 5214.
5214.
Exactly. We have something like a practice here, maybe. Like el formulario.
Oh, sí.
El formulario. So as you may guess, like formular, like a form. So we have a new verb here.
No, there's no new verb I got. Oh, yeah,
Rellenar.
rellenar. Rellenar el
Rellenar.
formulario.
Exactly.
Rellena.
Rellenar.
It means to fill.
Oh, yeah.
It
Fill
can
this
means to
form.
fill a cup, to fill the formula, to fill soda, I don't know. So, rellenar,
Can you repeat the word again?
rellenar, rellenar.
Rellenar.
Exactly, rellenar. It's like apellido, apellido,
Apellidos.
rellenar.
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 And also we have calle,
Calle.
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 So, rellenar el formulario. To fill the formula.
Rellenar el formulario.
Rellenar el formulario.
Rellenar.
So, ¿cuál es tu nombre? Tu nombre. Mi nombre es
Mi
Franklin.
nombre es Radio.
So, ¿cuál es tu apellido?
Mi apellido es...
Your
How to
name.
say if I don't have any surname?
No, apellido, remember, apellido means the last name.
Surname.
If I
Surname.
don't have one?
Okay, so we have, you can say, no tengo, no tengo.
Oh, no tengo apellido.
Exactly. No tengo.
Okay.
So, you can say, ¿cuál es tu nombre?
Mi nombre es Ruhana.
Perfecto. ¿Y cuál es tu apellido?
país.
Mi
es tu apellido?
apellido es Tahrin.
Perfecto. So, ¿cuál es tu calle? ¿Cuál es tu calle? ¿Cuál es tu calle?
Street.
Exactly. You can say anything, you know, like maybe a street in your country. Calle.
Calle de
You just
And
say
the
calle
square.
y say the name. Calle.
calle
You can say yo vivo.
Yo vivo en Yakarta.
Yo vivo en la calle. Yo vivo en la calle, which means I live in the street. I mean, in the street, you say the name.
Yo vivo en la calle. La calle. Yo vivo en la
Yeah, you can
calle.
say anything.
My house doesn't have any street name. It's
Oh,
just, a complex.
Yeah, anything. Same here.
how would I say how would I say road number 5?
Número 5. Remember, número.
So la calle número 5.
Exactly. La calle número 5.
Oh, yeah. Yo vivo en la calle número 2.
Perfecto. ¿En qué calle vives? ¿En qué calle vives?
Oh, en calle Vives.
Yeah.
¿En qué calle? So, like, in which street you live?
Yo vivo en la calle número 2.
Perfecto.
Yo vivo en la calle número 5.
Perfecto. You can say, ¿en qué ciudad vives?
¿En qué ciudad? Yo vivo en Yakarta.
Perfecto.
Yo vivo en Dhaka.
Perfecto.
Yo vivo en
La capital de Bangladesh. Where do you live? ¿Dónde vive?
Yo vivo en Yakarta, la capital de Indonesia.
Perfecto.
Yo vivo en Dhaka, la capital de Bangladesh.
Perfecto. Yo vivo en Managua, la capital de Nicaragua. So, ¿qué país vives?
Yo vivo en Indonesia.
Yo vivo en Bangladesh.
Perfecto. Well, we have another thing here. It's the same, like we have two words, formulario, which is like a form maybe in a place, you know. La inscripción, it is like the enrollment, you know, like maybe when you are going to join a school or university, maybe. Or inscripción. Inscripción.
inscripción.
Inscripción. So you can say rellenar la inscripción.
Okay.
Llenar la inscripción.
Perfecto. So the same here. Nombres, apellidos. Calle. ¿Cuál es tu número de casa?
Número 134.
Mi número de casa es número, how do you say 40? I forgot.
40.
40, número 40.
40.
Perfecto. It's perfecto. So, perfecto. ¿En dónde vives? ¿En qué ciudad vives?
En Yakarta.
Yo vivo en
Yo vivo en Yakarta, la capital de Indonesia.
Excelente. So, this is the last part of the lesson, but I want to review the last thing we learned. If you remember, I don't know if you watched the lesson, Roddy.
Oh yeah.
So I want to review some things maybe. So, well, I was recording this lesson, so I will upload it, of course, so you can